Friends of Hellenic Studies. Welcome back to the third and final session of Exploring Hellenism for this year. So what that means is that today the spotlight is on the Cycladic island of Paros. Thank you to all of you who traveled with us on this first ever Exploring Hellenism online via Zoom. The Stockton Friends of Hellenic Studies hope you enjoyed it as much as we delighted in presenting it to you, and that it gave you all a deeper understanding of our motto, those who possess the light shall pass it on to others. The benefits of Hellenic Studies scholarships are best described by students who receive them. And although we don't have a student here today, those of you who were fortunate enough to see last week's session 2 heard a very moving and compelling testimonial by one of our students, Megan Coates, who did a wonderful job. So anyone who would like to support Hellenic Studies Scholarship can go to stockton.edu/GIVE. The Hellenic Studies program at Stockton sends more students to study abroad than any other Stockton Global Studies program. So because we're pre-recorded, if you have any questions for today's speaker, please email them to me at fhs@stockton.edu. Now, one of the many wonders of the island of Paros is their wine production. Each Greek island tends to specialize in a specific grape variety. For example, Santorini produces mostly white wine using the Assyrtiko grape that was originally cultivated there and now is grown all over Greece. Paros is famously known for the quality of its Mandellaria red wine grape, which is grown all over the Greek islands. If you're a wine lover like myself, you can try and find it somewhere. Ask your favorite wine shop if they carry it. You may have more luck finding a wine with that grape from the island of Crete, since Crete is a much larger island with greater wine production and export means. Also, check out the link in the email that you received that details the environmental efforts being made to eliminate plastic waste from the island and the surrounding waters of the Aegean Sea. Now, before Manya takes us on a lyrical tour of Paros, I'd like to say a few words about my friend of many, many years. Dr. Manya Bean was born in Athens, Greece. She studied English literature at the University of Athens, and after arriving in the US, she earned an MA in comparative literature at the University of Maryland. Manya later received her PhD in psychology and psychoanalysis. She currently works as a psychoanalyst in private practice in New Jersey and Philadelphia. In addition, she is an educator, writer, poet, and translator. Dr. Bean has taught people from age 5 to 75. She co-founded a parent cooperative alternative school with Stockton faculty in the early 1970s. She taught Stockton college students and later taught graduate students of psychology and psychoanalysis. She also worked for the New Jersey Council on the Arts, doing poetry residencies throughout the state. She has published numerous articles and translations and a book of poetry entitled Too Shy to Surrender. Manya has 3 children and 6 grandchildren. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Manya Bean.
Thank you, Tula. Good to be with you. I'm going to be showing you a map first. So here is Paros. It's a stone's throw from Naxos. Mykonos is a day trip, and Santorini is pretty close. Now, the story is that after God finished creating the world, he found a pile of stones forgotten. So he just dumped them on the Aegean, and this is how come we have the Cyclades. And I will talk with you about Paros, which is the fourth biggest island in the Cyclades. And he has a population of 12,000. And I'm going to read to you a little poem I wrote about Paros called The Island Whispers. And the title goes right into the poem. The island whispers come to kindness, air and light, wind in the pines, the loom is singing, smell flowering willow and yellow reeds. The river drags branches and the sea ships. Join the dance. When you come up the rise, pull up a chair, sit, and gaze at 3 seas. The mill is the first thing you see when you get off the ferry boat and land in Parika, which is the port and capital of Paros. It's a very nice port. It has a little church by the port and a big church up the street called the Ekatonda Piliani. Ekaton means 100 and Pili means door or gate. So we have 100 doors, the Church of the 100 Doors, and it's dedicated to the Virgin Mary. So she's the Panagia of 100 doors. And it was built around the 4th century by Constantine the Great. And on August 15, which I think it's the second best, biggest holiday in Greece after Easter. August 15 is the Dormition of Mary, where she dies and she goes to heaven. And here is the Navy at the churchyard celebrating August 15th, and the Patriarch comes from Athens, and there's a big celebration. I'll be showing you some photos of Parika, taking a stroll through Parika while I'm still talking about Panagia and the church and everything, because there's so much to say about that subject. So more churches are dedicated to the Virgin Mary than to the Father, or Jesus, or the Holy Spirit, or any of the saints. So Mary is the most venerated, I was told. I shouldn't use the word popular, but the reason I used the word popular was because I think that she's really close to the people, that they have a very intimate relationship with her, more so than many other religious figures. For example, the Buddhists have Kuan Yin, the goddess of mercy and compassion, and the Catholics use the Holy Virgin also a lot, and they call her Madre de la Consolación, Madre Dolorosa, they call her Mother. But the Greeks call her O Holy. They don't call her Mother. So here's more Parika, which is a very interesting town with lots of shops. And near the big church is the Museum of Paros, which is a really nice curated museum. It's much nicer than a lot of the other island museums that are really crowded with many things and you can hardly see, but this is really well put together. And here you have the Parian marble, which is white, translucent, and flawless. 64 square miles of marble. This is the single most famous Greek piece of art. It's the Aphrodite of Milos, and she lives in the Louvre. And this is the Winged Victory, whose name is Nike. And this one is, to me, is a priceless piece of art. Nike, you can buy this, little statue, a part of you can buy this statue in Amazon for $30, and that's where the shoes, the name of the shoes came from. This one is in the Paros Museum. Here we're coming to the island of Dragulas or Prodromos. It has two names. And I'm going to read to you another little poem that I wrote, and it's called Paros Pascal. Here you see colors, contours, house, tree, mountains unfolding like calming breasts, no excuses. The sea spreading itself rightfully shines or rages across, high above. Church bell and rope hang just so. Soon clear sound will summon. So this village is my favorite village in the whole wide world because I've been coming here for 40 years every summer. And I'd like you to notice these built-in benches by the walls of the houses inside the village. But this portal, so people can sit on those benches, I'll show you. But this portal entrance to the village is almost as if you could block the entrance to it. There are only like 300 people, less than 300 people living. But people sit on these built-in benches, especially in the evening, and just visit with each other and socialize. And when I was first there, I was wondering why this village is so crowded, so close together. The streets are so narrow. You notice there are only like 3 people can walk on this little street. We happen to be right outside the only grocery store of the island. It's very narrow entrance, but it goes really deep. And it has maybe at least 2 items of everything. So it's like the Amazon of Prodromos. And there's delivery. The Greeks call delivery, delivery. These are images of the island that I always keep photographing. And I was telling you about the reason the houses are so close together. And that is because of the pirates. The village is on a rise. This is the back of a church. And there's a flower pot on the left. And this is another here, and the flower pot is a different one, and it's in the middle. So the people do change the flower pots around, but pretty much the island is the same since it's been known to be there since the Middle Ages. And so before the pirates, a very famous poet lived in this area. His name was Archilochus, and he was the first lyric poet of the Western world. He's up there with Homer, and Shakespeare, but not as well known. So after Archilochus and the Greeks were writing their poems, the Persians invaded, and then it was the Romans and the Crusaders and the Venetians who built castles and made everybody pay taxes, and the Turks and the Germans. So it's no wonder that most of us Greeks have a pretty good dose of post-traumatic stress disorder from having been invaded forever, because we're at this on the sea, and the sea, it gives access to the rest of the world. Besides, Greece is right there in the middle of, between east and west. So this is a very narrow alley between some walls that come out in this relatively open space in the middle of the island, in the middle of the village. And the neighbors who live there have decorated the space, which is public space. They've decorated it as if it's their own, yard. And it's very well coordinated, blue and white. And somebody I know is dancing in there. It's very beautiful space that they've created there. This church, part of it is from the 16th century and the rest of it is newer. So I keep taking photos of windows and doors and steps and geraniums. And the newspaper was laying on the table one day. So now we're leaving the village of Prodromos. There's some abandoned mills. And approaching a series of portraits, I'll call them, of people from Paros. So here's Yanakos, who owns this tavern that we've been going to for lunch after swimming for many years. And that day there was a christening. So here's two celebrants chatting in somebody's laundry. And these are fishnets. And people are mending their fishnets because it's a job that just doesn't get done. Now notice that this lady is not holding a broom, she's holding a mop. And that's how come these streets are cleaner than my kitchen floor. It's my brother fixing his roof of his house. And that people just doing whatever they need to be doing. There's a young mother, she's carrying plastic toys for her little boy in case he gets bored with the view or his surroundings. And here's a young mother at the beach with her baby, and the baby needs a lot of supplies when she goes to the beach. This isn't my picture, but I really like it. So. The kids playing a game, which I didn't understand. It's all boys, but there's a girl there too. People call this man bonding. Now there's a spot in Paros called the Valley of Butterflies, and it's a beautiful spot that gets clouds of these tiny little beautiful butterflies in the summertime. These are called dovecots, and they were introduced to the island by the Venetians. And this is called colimbithris, which means baptismal font. And it's the seawater that made these very strange formations on the granite. You can also almost see like waves or wind there, these rocks. Now here is a series of images about products from Paros. There's some wine, like Tula was mentioning. There's very nice clay in Paros, so they make a lot of pottery, all kinds of pottery. Now this one is not from Paros, this is from Sifnos. And I bought this like 30 years ago, and it's about 5, 6, 7 inches tall. I paid 50 drachma for it. That was before the euro, of course. And now I saw it at a shop in Paricas, and it was selling for 45 euro. This is the pot that they use for the chickpea stew. And you notice how thick the walls are? It's because people need the insulation to keep the heat out in the summer and the cold in the winter. A very excellent recipe of mussels, really good mussels. Now there's a lot of octopus around. People dry it, you know, and cook it different ways. And I really wanted to get some octopus and cook it at home. So I saw this frozen octopus at the supermarket and brought it home, and look at the label of it, and it says the octopus is from Mexico. So why should I be eating octopus from Mexico when there's all this octopus around Paros? It's another story. They make very good cheese in Paros. One of it is called Xinomizithra. I don't think you can even find it in Athens. It's it's not sweet. It's white, crumbly. It kind of has a bite. So we are coming to Nausa, which is a very, very picturesque cosmopolitan town in Paros. It has a very beautiful port, which the Venetians liked, and they built a castle at the end of it. Now the port is lined with restaurant tables. And it's a good place to visit and walk through. There's many shops and so the story is that at the end of August, there's a big festival here. It's called the Pirates Festival, because the story is that Barbarossa had invaded Nausa, and they were abducting the women. So during this festival, half the men are dressed like pirates, and half the other men are defending the women from being kidnapped. And then they have fireworks, and they make fires on their boats, and they ride around the port, and it's a madhouse. This is inside a bar, and this is inside a shop. So Greeks like a lot of festivals. I think they like parties. This is some really beautiful jewelry, old jewelry. And this is new jewelry from Paros. It's a piece made with silver, handmade in Paros. This is an embroidery that says, "Destiny is impossible to avoid." Oh, and this is a mill for coffee, grinding coffee. So there's a lot of pottery, jewelry, embroidery, a lot of good arts and crafts in Paros. And actually a number of Europeans have come to Paros and moved there permanently and set up shop in Paros. This is the interior of a home of an older man. He's a widower. He lives alone. He didn't have electricity at that time in his house. And this is his kitchen. This is how he cooks his food. And this is my land, Tohorafi. Tohorafi has stone walls all around it, but they kind of crumble after years and years. So I had to put the cement cover on this so they don't crumble completely. But the reason I wanted you to see this photo is because of the colors. Because this is summertime and everything is yellow or brown because it does not rain for 3 or 4 months. And now this is springtime. And there's wildflowers. Nice. It's a little native orchid growing there in the mountain. So in the middle of a mountain, there's nothing around. There's this little structure, looks like a shoebox. And you get inside and you get very surprised to be inside this really sculptured space. There's these curvy arches going upwards. And where you stand there, you feel as if you're embraced or hugged or protected. So you could just stand there and just be in the presence of this plain and simple beauty. There's an altar, and I threw more light on it so you could see it. It's just a piece of marble, and the opening there is very well placed. And the colors, this orange and the green, is the only colors that you see in the place. But the light, as I said, is very soft. So somebody is obviously looking after this place. They keep it clean and care for it. And to me, that means devotion. So here we come to the school in Lefkis. Lefkis is the village that's on top of the hill. And this place, which is now a coffee shop, and this house, those two houses, are the only houses I know of that are built with the neoclassical style. Everything else is the island Cycladic architecture. And this is the big church of Lefkis, and it's sort of below the village. Now here is a little path you could see that is called the Byzantine path that goes all the way down to Prodromos. And it takes about an hour and a half to go from the one village to the other. And some of it is paved with these big marble pieces of stone. So one story is that if the pirates came, you could take the Byzantine path and go get lost to hide in the mountains so they couldn't find you. So this is Lefkis, and as you see, you have to descend, go down steps to go down to the big church. This is a monastery on top of another hill dedicated to St. Anthony. And there was no road, there was a footpath, but no, you couldn't drive up there. So eventually they built a road, and my brother and I drove up there. As you could see, there's plenty of rocks. There's a church and more photos of the light on the white walls. This is the kitchen of the monastery. There's no monks living there now. But this is what you see from up top. Now this is a fairly new hotel called the Paros Inn. And we stayed in the Paros Inn because there wasn't enough space for us to live in our house. But the hotel is around here somewhere. And this is my favorite beach called Logaras. And when I'm in this water, these are the best moments of my day, is when I'm in this water. There is no old age, there's no pain, there's no gravity. You could float in this timeless state of grace. Now we're back to Prodromos because this road, can't really tell from the picture, widens just enough so we can drive to our house. Oh, this is my favorite wall, and it's no longer, I'm gonna make it bigger. These stones are so artfully placed. You see, there's no mud, there's no adhesive. It's the mason who knows what he's doing. I think it's a talent. And I have to remember it. Now this is the part, the back of our house. And it looks totally godforsaken because we've tried for years to get something to grow there, and you can't grow anything. It's just stone. So Angeliki, my sister-in-law, got this wall built, and they got soil in it, and now there's a bougainvillea growing there. It's much better. It's a window to our house, and some fruit in case you get thirsty. That's the sunset. Here we are waiting to get back to the ferry. And I'd like you to notice this flag up there, because I spent 4 hours taking pictures of this flag going back to Paros on the ferry. And the stripes of the flag symbolize the words freedom or death. And of course, blue and white are the colors of Greece because of the sea and of the white caps. So before I leave you, I'm going to read to you a poem in Greek, which was written by my brother, Yorgos Passantonopoulos, who lives in Athens with his wife. And he wrote this poem last month in March. They've been shut in their house for over a couple of months with this quarantine. This is his quarantine poem, I guess. But they've done really well because there are only 150 deaths to date in the whole country of Greece. So the poem is called Silence. In Greek, it's σιωπή. Η σιωπή στο σπίτι, ανυπόδητη, με κάλτσες γλιστράει στο παρκέ, μαζεύει χνούδια από τις γωνίες, στρέφει το κεφάλι της αλλού προς τους καθρέφτες. Είναι δοκιμασία να χαιρετήσει αυτόν που τον γεμίζει, αυτόν που σκέφτεται βαθιά, αναβοσβήνοντας ιδέες που λαμπυρίζουν τελικά, στην επιφάνεια της λίμνης, στο βουνό, την άνοιξη, από το λιωμένο χιόνι που θα στραγγίξουν τα ελάφια και ο ήλιος του καλοκαιριού. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Manya. for a remarkable look at yet another beautiful Aegean island. So remember to send any questions you may have about today's presentation on Paros to fhs@stockton.edu. Now, right before I close the program, I would like to thank a few people and to show you a couple of photos. So first, I would like to thank, first and above all, I'd like to thank Peter Gallagher, Associate Director of IT Help Desk Services, and our favorite, Mark Pizzata, the Professional Services Specialist. Thank you so much for your patience and for putting up with us and helping train us. And Mark, somehow I see, as a thank you to you, some homemade Greek food in your future. So I hope you like it. This photo right here is a group photo of the Friends of Hellenic Studies, the active members. And right here you see hidden in the back, Professor Catherine Panagakos. I just want to point her out because you heard her in the first session on Andros speaking about the scholarships that we have. She's the chairperson and she's always ready to help us with anything we need. We appreciate that. Here we are with the Greek ambassador, Haris Lalakos, who visited the campus a couple of years ago. The Friends of Hellenic Studies are fortunate to have as co-chairs Professor Sarah Albertson and Catherine Karathanasis, two creative and forward-thinking individuals who also understand the timeless scholarly significance of Hellenic studies. With their enthusiasm and leadership, we will continue to move forward. Tom Papadimitriou is the executive director of the Stockton University Dean C. and Zoe S. Pappas Interdisciplinary Center for Hellenic Studies. And the Friends work very closely with the Pappas Hellenic Center. What the center does is works through the Stockton School of Arts and Humanities and oversees the Hellenic Studies curriculum programs and cultural activities. We want to thank the students who are always there to give us testimonials and to share with us their experiences. But most of all, words cannot express the gratitude that the Friends and I have toward the phenomenal presenters who generously gave of their time, talent, and effort. Catherine Karathanasis, who spoke on Andros, Maria Kazantzis, who spoke on Sifnos, and Manya Bean, who talked to us about Paros. These were not generically produced travelogues. They were personal and moving. And viewers commented that watching the slideshows made them feel like they were really there. All who worked on this project volunteered their time and effort because despite the challenging circumstances that we're all in together globally, life still goes on. And the Friends of Hellenic Studies sincerely believe that keeping knowledge alive, which has survived millennia, will keep civilization alive as well. So I'd like you to take a look at our website here. And here it is. Go and check it out if you have a moment. And you might be very surprised that all of the things that Stockton University is doing to promote and perpetuate the study of Hellenism. This is Tula Christopoulos bidding you adieu and hoping that next year, which is also the 200th anniversary of Greek independence, that we'll be able to present another region or island, but this time live and in person. And perhaps you'll be there too to sample some of the traditional culinary specialties and regional wines that we'll be serving. And then get up and dance with us. Opa.